Today we're going to learn about how the strings on our instrument make sound. Whenever your instrument makes a sound, it's because the string is vibrating. When the string vibrates, it creates sound waves, which create the sound that we hear. And there are two different ways to make your strings vibrate. The first way that we learned is pizzicato. You gently pull the string to make it vibrate. The other way, which we'll learn soon, is by playing with our bow. When you pull the hair of the bow across the string, that friction between the hair and the string also makes the string vibrate. If you look closely at your strings, you'll notice that they're not all exactly the same. Your highest string, like the E string right here on my violin, is going to be much skinnier than your lowest string, like the G string on my violin. Also, there are two spots, two bumps that the strings go over. The first one up here, right by the scroll, is called the nut. That little bump right there that the strings go over, that's called the nut. And on the other end, where the strings go over the bridge, there's a little bump there that the strings go over on the bridge. So what happens is, when I play an open string, like my open D string, oh, that was A string, D string, that whole string from the nut to the bridge, that much string is vibrating. And when that much string vibrates, it makes the note D. That's why we call it D string. Makes the note D. My E string, it's so skinny because it makes a higher sound. So even though it's the same length from the nut to the bridge, that's the same length, but because the string is skinnier, it's less total string that's vibrating. And then my G string, even though it's the same length from the bridge to the nut, because it's a thicker string, it's more total string that's vibrating. And it makes a lower sound. So the more string that's vibrating, the lower the sound is. The less string that's vibrating, the higher the sound is. So now when I use my fingers, when I use the fingers of my left hand, when I press down that first finger, what's happening is that now my finger is going to cut off that vibration. And now when I pluck the string, it's only going to be vibrating from my finger to the bridge. And is that more or less string than open D? It's less string. So that means that the sound is going to get a little higher. And then when I put down my second finger, I'm cutting off a little more of the string, so even less is vibrating. Same thing when I press down my third finger. I'm cutting off the string between my third finger and the bridge. So each time you put down a finger, less string is vibrating and the sound gets higher. The closer your fingers get to the bridge, the higher the sound will be. If I move my hand here and do the same thing, the sound gets even higher because my fingers are even closer to the bridge. Now, because of that, you also have to make sure that your fingers are nice and strong. You have to press your finger all the way down into the fingerboard. Otherwise, it's not going to cut off the vibration all the way. If your finger is not strong enough, you might hear what I call a thunk. If you hear that kind of sound instead of a nice note, that means that your finger is not heavy enough, and you need to make your finger a little heavier, a little stronger. Really press all the way down so that you cut off that vibration and get a nice sound. So every time we add a finger to the string, the sound gets higher, and when we take fingers away from the string, it gets lower. And the notes always follow the musical alphabet. Remember, the letters of the musical alphabet are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So on our D string, if this note is D, when I put down my first finger, the sound gets a little higher. We go forward in the alphabet. So this is E. And then when I put down my second finger, that's F. And when I put down my third finger, G. So the notes go like that in alphabetical order. D, E, F, and G.